right, today we wanted to look into recruiting your launch team. Recruiting your launch team. How do you begin a new church plant? How do you begin a new church plant? Let's look at some definition. Men who attempt to plant a church by themselves are known as lone ranger church planters, right? I was, when I came to here, I was just like one like that. So lone ranger, that means you didn't have anybody else as you move to a place, right? Which is not healthy, which is not right. So in church planting, first of all, we need to have a core group, right? A core group is a body of local community people who want to help a church planter and his launch team start a new church. So what is a core group? It's a body of local community people who wanted to help a church planter and his launch team start a new church, right? So that is, there are maybe 3 or 4 families. If you can secure 3 or 4 families, then that is the core group. Then there is a launch team. What is a launch team? This is the leadership team of committed individuals who may or may not be from the local area, but recruited by the lead church planter to help him launch a new church, right? This is the core team. And that can be from the local area, they can be from outside, but move to this new place for a new ministry. All the members of the launch team will be part of the core group, right? So this new launch team will be also part of the core group, but not everyone in the core group will be part of the launch team. Launch team is particularly committed to the ministries, committed to activities, right? Whereas core group is maybe 3 or 4 families who come together to help the church planter, right? So that is what we have to understand, the difference between core group and a launch team. What is the difference? Launch team is much more will play a leadership role, whereas core group is a group of community of people who come. All members of the launch team will be part of the group. All right, so we talked. Recognize that the church planting is healthier with a launch team. Launch team. That means if you wanted to plant a new church, if it is possible, you go with a team, right? Maybe if you can have secure 2 or 3 family members, families who are committed to plant churches and begin the ministry, it would be best. It would be the best ideal situation. Now, I'm not saying that going alone is a wrong thing. It's difficult. For example, if you look at William Carey came to here in India, and he had about what he had. What do you learn? You learn that he worked for 7 years. 7 years in order for the church, and in order for the first to convert to happen, right? So that is the one of the difficulty in order to begin a church, it's not easy. Now, if you are already here in a place, you have a lot of contacts, church beginning will be easier. But if that's not the case, then it's going to be very difficult, right? So go with a launch with a team. It's healthier. Now let's look at a few things here. Church planting in the New Testament. Church planting in the New Testament. Jesus was the first visionary church planter, right? We know that. He set the stage for the greatest church planting movement in history when he said, I will build my church. The gates of hell or Hades will not prevail against it. Jesus began the church planting movement. Apostle Paul was a master church planter, extraordinary, right? Yes, he was a master church planter. He was a catalytic, right? Catalytic church planter. After Jesus Christ, there is none in this world had the idea of planting church like that. And that's the reason Muslims usually, they don't like Paul. Paul is the one who destroyed everything. They usually say. And he sent back some people from his team when there were problems. We know that. He was a prolific church planter, but he almost always walked with a team of co-workers who helped him launch his new churches. He always had co-workers, right? Co-workers, Barnabas or Silas or whatever, he had co-workers with him. Throughout Scripture, ministry often follows a team approach. A team approach. For example, in the Old Testament, Moses had Aaron and Joshua. Joshua sent out the spies. He sent them out as a team. Elijah had Elisha. Later, Elisha had Gehazi as a team partner. Jesus sent out the 70 in teams of 2. So what are we looking at here? We are looking at as this. We are looking at biblical model as a team ministry. There is a great value in team ministry. Right? Research done by Stephen Gray found that 80% of first growing churches had a church planting team in place prior to launch of public services, while only 1% of struggling churches were started by church planting teams. So it is always faster growing. 9 out of 10 struggling churches were started by solo planters, while 9 out of 10 team churches were started by team planters. So there is completely, really an advantage of a team rather than solo church planter. Solo church planter. All right. So now let's look at recruiting your launch team. So how do you recruit your team? It should not be based on convenience. All too often, teams have been put together on the basis of need and availability, right? Need and availability. Who are available? That's what we gather. When recruiting a launch team, start with your goal in mind. What is your goal? What is your objective? What do you want to accomplish? What problem in your target community are you are trying to address through church plan? Is there anything like that? So what is your goal when you go to a place? Third, understand that teams are almost always temporary arrangement just for the length of the church. Teams are for temporary arrangement, not for throughout till the end. That team should be living there. Not necessary, right? It's temporary. Yes, the objective becomes finding right people for your launch team rather than just available people, right? What do you need to have? You need to have right people. Number two, recruitment should be based on character. Is the person spiritually mature? Individual who is growing in Christ through regular Bible study, times of study, prayer, witnessing, and serving. That is the kind of person you need. Second, does he have a teachable spirit, servant heart, or your recruitment team member always want to teach you, right? If that is the case, your church planning is going to be a flop because they're not going to follow you. You have to follow them. You recruit member, finally you have to follow their vision, is going to be an embarrassing situation, right? Does this member have a proven record? Is he fruitful as well as faithful, cooperative, positive? Does he carry assignments well? Does he get along well with the people? Does he speak negatively of others he has worked with in the past? Is he a self-starter? Right? So you can look at Paul gives qualities and characters in his writings, in his styles. So what we need to know, first of all, recruitment should not be based on convenience. Second, I said, recruitment should be based on character. Church planters should have a character. Third, recruitment should be based on competency, ability. Here are some of the key leadership roles which should suggest that need to be fulfilled, right? Maybe a lead pastor. That's number one. Children ministry leader. Number two. Outreach and evangelism coordinator. Number three. Right? So we need people to fill in all these areas. Competency. Do we have people who can do the job? Do we have the people who can do the job? Establish expectation for each role. Pray instead of pay. Will each people expect to raise their own support or will be paid by the church? Usually, it's a long team, so they may have to have their own support. What is the titles you are going to be given? It's better to define roles in terms of what is to be done rather than with a title. Title is not big thing. What is the role that a person has is the big thing. Third, responsibilities, develop a written job description for each position that outlines what each person is expected to do. Right? Expected to do. So that's the way we need to establish the expectations for each person. Third, determine whether a person has skills, talents, gifts, and experience need to fill the leadership role for which you are considering them. Right? This is the place you need to be picky or you need to be choosy. So you have a leadership, you have a launch team, right? You have remember I said core group is there, that is different, that can be any kind of people, but launch team, you need to pick people who have not only character, but ability, right? Ability. Fourth, recruitment should be based on compatibility. That means everyone needs to buy into the vision. There should not be many visions. Some wants to do this, some wants to do that. There should be one. Compatibility involves shared roles. There can be only one leader on a team, always like that. It is critical that you might be right kind of a leader. Can't be authoritarian or micromanager. All right, so compatibility involves shared roles. That means you should be able to give the roles to others. Compatibility involves agreement on roles. Successful teams have leaders and followers. Church planting teams are not democracies in which all members have equal voice and vote. Don't think that way. Oh, everybody, let's take everybody's opinion. No, that's not the way church planting team works. Develop a written job description for each member of the team. Each member of the team. All right. So that is very important here in a team. Compatibility involves a mutual philosophy of ministry. Ministry is done, emphasis, expectations, roles, values, missions. All these things are to be are involved in the compatibility. So we wanted to have people who can share, who can agree with that. And that was a problem with the Paul and Barnabas one time in Acts chapter 15, that they couldn't agree about John Mark. And so there was split. And the next word, compatibility, involves people's ministry, right? People's ministry. We use the acronym known as SHAPE. Everyone you recruit to your launch team will have a unique ministry SHAPE. What is that? SHAPE is the acronym. S for spiritual gifts, right? Gifts to serve. H for heart or passion. A for aptitude, skills, or talents. P for personality, introvert or extrovert, right? E for experiences in life. So we want to have, right? We want to have involved people into the ministry. So recruit your launch team that will have these unique qualities. Fifth, recruitment should be based on consultation. Don't do by yourself. Talk to people who already know how to do it. And consult your wives as well, right? Husband and wife should be in agreement. All right. And it is the Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14 tells us that there is safety in the multitude of counselors, right? You need to have counselors. Consult with the Lord before inviting a person to be part of your launch team. Talk to Jesus Christ. Consult with other leaders before inviting a person to be part of your launch team. Fourth, consult a church planting consultant before inviting a person to be part of the team. Maybe there are people who have good experience in doing that kind of ministry. All right. Now, yes, let's go to the next point. Rules and guidelines for successful launch team. If you are not a loner church planter, we're not a loner church planter, then there are rules and regulations. Let's look at them. Let's look at them. To have a successful launch team, communication is very important, right? Frequent communication. Meet together as a team at least once in a week with the wives participating in the meetings. Yes. Have husband and wife together. Be sure everyone in the team is familiar with the goals, objectives, and actions that to be taken and knows what their responsibilities are. Right? That is the another important place. The next one. To have a successful launch team, listen carefully. Listen carefully. Be observant of body language that they may suggest that someone is not being heard or that they did not feel you value their input. So understand what others say. Pay attention to their ideas and suggestions. So what are the guidelines? Number one, communication. At least once in a week, right? And then maybe once in a month, one special. Second, listen carefully to the team. Third, to have a successful launch team, be open to change. Right? Remember, we learned about in our philosophy church ministry that change is part of success. All plans are subject to adjustment. Team members will have ideas for greater effectiveness, maybe. We don't know. So we need to understand them. Let the team participate in decision making. Allow people to change their responsibilities if it is also necessary. So this is the teamwork. Church plant is a teamwork if you have got a team. To have a such successful church team, go the extra mile, right? We all have peculiarities and idiosyncrasies, blind spots. So what you should do, be patient with the people. Some people are very hard to put up with, but you be patient with them. To have a successful launch team, be realistic in your expectation, all right? Oh, I'm going to build a church within a 1 year. I'm going to build a church within a 5 year. Sometime it may not work, right? Have a realistic expectation. Could be 5 years is okay. Know the strength and weakness of your people. Assign people responsibilities for which they are qualified. Be sure they understand what you expect them to do, what freedoms they have in doing it, right? So realistic expectation. To have successful launch team, hold people accountable, right? If your team is successful, you give them responsibilities and ask account for it, right? Let them be accountable. Let them do their responsibility. Accountability is very important. Accountability is established on the front end of a team ministry. Yes. Deal immediately with the misunderstanding or failure to follow through anytime. Otherwise, it will grow and come back to haunt you. So, in a successful launch team, people are accountable. To have successful launch teams, stay focused. Learn to say no to anything that would hinder reaching your goal. I think that's the biggest thing, right? You cannot do many things, right? You don't be jack of all trades and master of nothing. You have to focus and do that. Biggest problem is that evangelism easily replaces with edification. Planting is replaced with this pastoralism, right? So we have issues like that. So you cannot do everything that people and your team will want you to do. So you as a church planter do important thing and let others do other work. To have a successful launch team, use a launch team covenant. That is one of the other things. Define what team members are expected to do, how much time they are expected to invest per week, how much money they have to contribute, right? So a team covenant, put into writing what you have verbally agreed to do and have everyone sign it. If you can do that, church planting occurs in a very fluid setting that requires a frequent adjustment, so be flexible. So what I'm saying here, the best method of planting church is a team ministry, right? If you can have a team who is completely dedicated to that church planting ministry, that is the best way to plant church. Take time to develop a launch team of 2 or 5 couples to help you lay the groundwork, develop the core group, and launch a strong node, and you'll be glad that you have done that.